Once upon a time, in a place called San Salvador Atenco, a series of events started taking place. It was October 2001 when the President of Mexico, Vicente Fox, announced the construction of a new airport in Texcoco. In order for this to happen, almost 5,000 hectares of agricultural land had to be expropriated, and farmers wouldn't receive the fair indemnization. But this was just the beginning.
Atenco is a rural village in the countryside where most of its population depends on agriculture for a living, but also on informal commerce.
So when the government threatened with taking away their lands, 500 farmers expressed their rejection and blocked the federal highway Texcoco Lecheria, wielding their machetes, act which symbolized their resistance. A month later, the communal landholders from Atenco, Tocuila, Nexquillapac, Acuexcomac, San Felipe, and Santa Cruz de Abajo, with machetes and mattocks, mobilized for the first time into the federal district and protested in front of Los Pinos. The objective of the series of manifestations was to demand a fair deal for the sale of their lands.
Communal landholders disowned Mexico's government. During 5 years, there was a harassment and criminalization against the organization people built, the United People's Front in Defense of the Land.
The morning of May the 3rd of 2016, dozens of police elements from Texcoco and Mexico kept people from installing their market stalls to 8 florists in the town square. Then started a confrontation.
After what had happened on May 4th, around 3,000 of police elements entered Atenco, with orders from the government to use violence. Nevertheless, the violence implemented against every single citizen of Atenco was unjustified and extreme, which made them react with more violence to defend themselves.
Police elements beat people, arrested some others, broke out into houses, destroying everything inside. They even killed 2 residents. One of them was underage. The force outgrew the amount of population. The political repression was savage. It went too far. They even violated human rights.
For those who were kept from their freedom, the ride from San Salvador Atenco to the nearest detention center was of 2 hours. 2 hours, which became 6. 6 painful and unbearable hours of extreme physical violence and sexual abuse against women.
Back to the conflict in town, a lot of the injured people did not receive any medical attention. Even though ambulances were outside of town, political elements did not let them in.
This character is named Miria. The aggressive encounter was told by multiple reporters to all the people, mainly through media text, which are defined as any constructed piece of media communication, in this case, mainly audiovisual because of the content presented in news channels, which, since the beginning, developed a posture against Atenco population and completely agree with the government and the police officers, which for them were the heroes for the society.
But media is not alone in this story against the Atenco population. It has a very close friend that is always watching and criticizing its behavior. His name, Political Economy of Communication, but you can call him Pequi.
Pequi was born with the thoughts of the Canadian economist Harold Innis between 1942 and 1951, which were named knowledge monopolies. These thoughts had the purpose of illustrating that throughout history, certain privileged groups, such as priests, kings, bureaucrats, soldiers, scientists, etc., have enjoyed a monopoly of access to certain kinds of knowledge.
Pecky believes, according to his inspiration, Harold Laswell, that people evaluating aspects of the world in historically and culturally particular ways and then acting upon those evaluations in negative or positive ways.
With the situation that Pecky's friend Miria is living, he finds an opportunity for proving his thoughts. Specifically, he wants to prove his theories by demonstrating the relation between media, the government, and the economy of the country, in this case, Atenco.
Pecky mainly observes that media is in favor of the government and the police officers. Reporters and people who present news and TV programs in general start criticizing people from Atenco, promoting different stereotypes about people from the field who work in agriculture. These activities are cataloged to be for ignorant people, making the audience think that they were aggressive in the story according to this description. It sounds logic for them, using this idea as a manipulation strategy for the audience to control how they look at the program.
Pecky is just surprised on how his friend Miria manipulates the information, but now he has to discover the strategy he uses to manipulate it. From his broad range of manipulation strategies, Miria also includes his powerful weapon called cropping, which consists in showing to people only what he wants you to see and hides the rest. Miria is a very persistent little guy, well, not that little. When his cropping strategy isn't useful for him, or when he wants to give more intensity to the message, he uses the anchorage, which consists in writing a message below the image he shows. In Atenco, the news that came out were accompanied by whatever message they wanted to show, which were usually messages of hate addressed to the people of Atenco.
There's something you don't know about Miri. He has a close friend named Bernie. Bernie is the guy in charge of ruling people of Mexico and of saying what the country needs and what needs to be done. He and Miri have a really close relationship in which Bernie tells Miri what he wants to see on the news, and obviously he makes it happen. When the confrontation in Atenco happened, TV Azteca was broadcasting live. The news teller was saying that what was happening was an embarrassment for the police force, because what the news image showed was a few policemen being violently hit by people from Atenco. Of course, this wasn't the whole story. They were using cropping and showing only the parts they wanted us to see. They left out the image of 5 or 6 policemen hitting one single person.
What happened in Atenco isn't an isolated event. Actually, here in Mexico have happened a lot of things like this along the years. And unfortunately, the human rights are still violated, and the abuse of power of the authorities is still unpunished and will be unpunished forever in this country. A lot of people don't really know what happened. The Supreme Court's verdict was that there would be an investigation about all the responsible people of ordering to the authorities that they have to act that way, that violent way. But sadly, nobody did anything with that information. So it demonstrates us what is the situation here in Mexico. A lot of people really don't know what happened to the Atenco people that day. And this is because maybe they don't care, or simply the media is completely controlled by the government, and they are always showing them images and messages that control them and make them think exactly as the government wants. And well, this is normal here in Mexico because media, government, always connected. And the saddest thing is that we have nothing to do about it because we are victims of violence, repression, and there will always be a way to shut our mouths.